Today on Up Front, my extended interview with Republican U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. Next, Johnson on the Trump administration, the president's speech to Congress, and its latest controversy, this time involving the Attorney General. Then, swift changes at the Democratic National Committee. New DNC Secretary Jason Ray from Wisconsin on the party's new messaging and its outreach to rural voters.
Covering the issues important to Wisconsin. This is Up Front with Mike Goucher.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Up Front. Wisconsin played a key role in Donald Trump's victory last November, and the Trump administration is making it clear Wisconsin is still very much on its radar. Friday, Vice President Mike Pence held a listening session with Wisconsin business executives and farmers in Janesville. Pence's visits to states Trump won in November followed the president's well-received speech to Congress Tuesday night. It could have been a great week for Trump, but the administration is still dogged by stories about high-level contacts with Russians, this time involving Attorney General Jeff Sessions when he was a senator. Some Democrats say Sessions perjured himself when he told the Senate Judiciary Committee he hadn't met with Russian officials, when in fact he had met with the Russian ambassador twice. They called on him to resign. Sessions defended his statement, so did the president, and Sessions remains on the job, but he recused himself from any investigation involving the Trump campaign. We're talking about all of this and more today with Republican U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. Senator, it's good to have you back on the program.
Morning, Mike.
So let's talk for a moment about the Jeff Sessions developments. Did the Attorney General do the right thing by saying he would recuse himself from any investigation of the Trump campaign?
I think he did. Listen, I've come to know Jeff, and those of us who serve with him, I don't think he has a dishonest bone in his body. Just a person of integrity, and he looked at the law and he consulted with his ethics advisors, and he made that call.
How important is this? Are these reports, these investigations of possible contacts between people involved with the Trump campaign and Russians or Russian officials or people allied with Russia? How important is that?
Well, I'm highly concerned about Russia. We, as chairman of the Senate Committee on the European Subcommittee of the Foreign Relations Committee, I've held hearings on their pervasive disinformation propaganda campaigns throughout the world, but particularly in Eastern Europe. We obviously saw their involvement in the U.S. It's something that's very concerning. And so this is something we're looking at. I really do believe the appropriate venue at this point in time are the Senate and House Intelligence Committees, that those are being run in a bipartisan fashion. And let them do their oversight. Let's see if there's something that actually needs to be referred to the Justice Department for potentially looking at terms of prosecution, but we're not there yet.
So you do not favor special prosecutor, you don't favor an independent commission?
Not at this point in time. You have to let the process work out. And again, I've got a great deal of faith in Richard Burr and Mark Warner, the Republican Democrat chair and vice chair of the Intelligence Committee. And by the way, what we're hearing is there's not a whole lot there, but I'm going to reserve my judgment until they finish their report.
Are you bothered at all by the fact that in recent days alone reports that there were representatives of the Trump campaign meeting with Russian officials? Does that bother you? And this comes at a time, we should say, when Russians were trying to meddle in the election.
Again, I would think that if you're going to potentially become president of the United States, for example, General Flynn after the election, it would just make sense that the transition team would be meeting with all kinds of world leaders. That doesn't bother me. But again, I want to see the specific instances you're talking about, and I'm going to wait for the intelligence report.
President Trump says this is a witch hunt. Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, I think there's a certain element to that, but I think there's also some legitimate concerns. So I will let the process play out, and I'll see what the report comes from the Intelligence Committee.
I want to spend a couple moments on the event in Janesville on Friday. So there is, at this event, there's you, there's House Speaker Paul Ryan, there's the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Tom Price, and there's the Vice President. To an observer, it looks like this is an attempt to present a united front, that we're all on board with health care reform, that we know what we're going to do with Obamacare, how we're going to repeal it, how we're going to replace it. Was that the intention?
I think it was more of an intent to listen to Wisconsinites and Americans. I will give the owner, Jane Blaine Gilbertson, the owner of Blaine's Farm and Fleet, just a great deal of credit for putting together a round table of local business leaders of the Janesville area. that really peppered the vice president with a lot of great questions on the importance of trade for farming, and the importance of regulatory reform, the importance of replacing Obamacare with something that will actually work, repairing the damage done by Obamacare, but also making sure we don't pull the rug out from under anybody. So there was just a great series of questions. In the end, the way the vice president summed it up, because we also had a question on the deficit, something I'm obviously concerned about. And the vice president, I think, appropriately answered, very similar to what I've been saying all along, is the number one component of solution to all these problems is growth. We have to grow our economy, and you do that by reducing the regulatory burden, having pro-growth tax reform, and of course, repealing and replacing Obamacare with something that actually works also is regulatory reform.
There was a fair amount of talk at the event Friday about Obamacare and its repeal and its replacement, and the House appears to be moving very aggressively, may have something by later this month. How soon do you think there could be a vote in the Senate on repeal and replace?
We really are hoping to do this probably within the next month and a half, but it's incredibly—
Is that too fast?
It's incredibly complex. It is. But what you can take away from Friday's town hall meeting and that listening session, and the fact that I was there with the speaker, with the vice president, we are working very cooperatively. I mean, there's a lot of discussion between House members and senators and the administration because it is so complex. Mike, Obamacare was passed about 7 years ago. It's been 7 years in its implementation. It went from about 380,000 words as a law to close to 20 million words of rules and regulation that have really infiltrated every nook and cranny of our healthcare system. It's incredibly complex. So there's nothing easy about this. We've got a great deal of agreement on our side that we want to push the decisions on healthcare back to the states, back to individuals. Give individuals the freedom and choice to choose patient-centered care within a free market system that actually can restrain costs and improve better quality and access. So there's a lot of agreement, but the details, the devil's really in the details, and it's difficult.
Briefly, Senator Rand Paul, one of your Republican colleagues, says that the process hasn't been transparent, that he wants to know more about what the House bill looks like, and he hasn't been given that opportunity. Do you think the process of something of this magnitude has been transparent enough?
It's difficult for every senator to be involved in every discussion, but there's been a lot of—
Have you personally been involved?
I haven't been in every session, no, not with every time the White House meets or the House meets, but Lamar Alexander is chairman of our HELP committee, the committee of jurisdiction here, has been holding meetings with state insurance commissioners, with governors, with healthcare experts, with, for example, the CEOs of the top insurance companies. So we've certainly had an awful, many opportunities to get the details of what's being discussed. But again, the final product, I don't think has yet to be developed because there's still some real problems with it.
We're going to take a quick break here. We'll continue with Senator Johnson in just a moment. When we come back, we'll talk about something that he just mentioned, President Trump's priorities, what they might mean for the budget. That's when Up Front continues.
Up Front with Mike Goucher, brought to you by the American Transmission Company.